Hi, everyone. I was introduced, I'm Lori Brown. I actually have an undergrad, a master's, and a PhD. So I do teach at a couple different colleges too. So I just love time with students and away from FedEx, so we don't say that too loud. But FedEx is a great company to work for, and I'm gonna introduce you to FedEx. But I do want to highlight that, especially since you guys are like in IT and areas, we're constantly hiring for IT, data, engineering. Those are like the STEM roles are like key components to make FedEx the company that it is today. And right now, I want to sit there and say that our summer intern program, we have not posted our IT data or most of our engineering positions yet. We just got, I want to say about 4 weeks ago, a new CIO, and he's going through everything and learning everything until he's done with that. Then it's going to be posted. But I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you go out there every week and take a look and see if the intern positions are posted, because when you go into a company, it is a lot easier to get a full-time position when you come in as an intern or a co-op. And then what we do is on week 8, you can start applying for like a full-time position because everything you have to apply. And then week 9, we're going to do the interviews. Week 10, we extend the offer letters so that that way there, by the time that the intern program is over, you're going to know if you have that position or not. And that's what we try to do all the time. Sometimes our weeks are a little bit off, but then we will hold your position. So if you graduated in May of 2026, since it'll be June of 2026, this intern program will start, then you can still apply for an intern program and then come in that way. And then you would start as soon as it's over. So that would be like September 1st would be your start date for that. And then, but if you graduate in December or you graduate the following May, what we would do is hold that position for you until you graduated. So just keep that in mind, that especially nowadays, it's a lot easier, like I said, to come in as an intern or a co-op, get that position, and then hold it over until you graduate. So when you look at FedEx, what do you think of FedEx when you hear the words? Yes, sir.
Shipping.
Yes, package, everything like that. Now, let me just say that that's always the #1 response when you go on an interview at FedEx. They'll sit there and say, what do you know about FedEx? Please, 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 please do not do the kiss of death and say you're shipping or you deliver packages, because everybody knows that. What you need to do, and any company that you're applying for any role, you need to go out on their website. You need to go and see what their company does. Go in and see what their culture's like. And then when they sit there and say, what do you know about FedEx? You can sit there and say, oh, I really like how everybody takes care of everybody. Or your top initiative is safety first, whether it's out in the field, inside the office, or if you're working from home, just to make sure that everything is safe for you to do that. Then they're going to sit there and say, this person really knows what they're talking about FedEx. They really want the job because they did the research. So always make sure that you do something like that when you're looking for it. So the agenda, we're going to talk about a little bit about the enterprise culture. FedEx turned 50 and we're still getting over that hump on that one. I want to talk to you about One FedEx, dress code, summer intern program, and business agility and agile. So our enterprise culture, FedEx culture, is built on our PSP, which is people, service, and profit foundation with common values, language, tools, and behaviors. And it's basically just to accelerate our strategic operating principles and to compete collectively, operate collaboratively, and innovate digitally, allowing us to be fast, flexible, and focused. And those are key to making us successful. So when you're looking at our culture, we take care of each other as our #1. We commit to do good, own outstanding, drive business results, and create what's next. To be successful, you really got to understand what the pillars are and what they mean. And you kind of got to go do a little deep dive in it and see how it fits into your own personal life. And I have to say that when you take on some of the stuff that FedEx teaches us to be, FedEx culture, you apply it to your own life, and it's kind of like amazing how much better your own personal life starts becoming when you follow these type of philosophies. Ugh, you will never hear enough of this. I will make every FedEx experience outstanding. We build our success by adopting these three behaviors. Put my customer first, keep it simple, and stay one step ahead. Whether it's one step ahead of our competitors, so we know what they're doing so that we can do it better and faster and way before they have it done. And also one step ahead of what our customers, because when we sit there, when you were looking at any of the digital, and I would say over the last 10 years, the support that we give any upstart digital company is outstanding. We will provide them with an IT person, marketing, sales, and logistics. And basically it's to help them grow their company, because the more they ship, the better off we are, because we're shipping their packages for them. And then we teach them how to brand themselves, how to, package it better, how to ship it better. Where else can they go, and whether it's the US or the world, where can their products really make a difference? So we work with them to help them grow their business. Okay, we have 5 pillars, and we have the FedEx Cares. Um, delivering for good, sustainable transportation, employment pathways, road safety, and global entrepreneurship. Now, for delivering for good, that's where the FedEx Cares come in. We like to give back to every community that we're in, that we deliver packages, because technically speaking, at any given time, a town, a city, whatever, a state could sit there and say, we don't want FedEx in there. Um, so it's our way of saying thank you. So one of the things that we like to do, if you're up in north and it's really, really cold out there, last week we had it where it was Operation Warm, where we go into schools where the kids can't afford to have a winter coat. So we buy winter coats for everybody inside their school, and then we have them, pick out what colors they want, all of that, and they try it on. I actually have them do like a little walkway type thing, and they can show everybody their new coats, and they just love it. So we give that to them. Also, too, when you look at delivering for good, when COVID came out, and we had to deliver all the COVID vaccines around the world, FedEx was the #1 carrier for that. So we were able to move it. And then you also look at what we do for animals. I'm an animal lover. I'm a dog mom, and I'm proud to say that. Um, so when you look at the pandas, we're the ones who move the panda bears all around the world. We do that. When there's issues with moving whales, we come in, we move the whales. When there's tigers and lions and all of that, we move that. When there's also flooding that's going on, and we have to go in there and help move the animals that's inside the rescues, we go in there and we make room for in our planes, whether it's planes or trucks, and we move the animals out. So that's kind of like things that we do to help with that. Sustainable transportation. We've been working with GM for the past 5 years, and we've been getting a lot of the EV trucks to make the delivery. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that out on the road. Road safety. We're always promoting a lot of road safety. All of our drivers, there's a competition that happens once a year, and a lot of the drivers sign up for that. They win a lot of money, they win a lot of great prizes, but it's also bragging rights to other FedEx people, UPS, and everybody who's out there on the trucks for doing that. Also, too, knowing that there's a certain number that our truckers have. And anytime they see like a van or a car that seems like it's weighted down a whole lot in the back, and it's kind of like dragging a little bit, chances are they're doing human trafficking in those vehicles. Or when they see, a van that's pulled over, and they might be able to know that, there's people inside there, whether they hear the people talking, screaming, crying, whatever, there's a number that they can call and report that. So we have a lot of that we'd like to stop too. So we take care of that way. So when you look at anything and you hear FedEx Cares, it's all incorporating what we can do to help each other, what we can do to help mankind worldwide, around everywhere. Branding, everything we do, everything we say, everything we create should express who we are. So all employees are representatives of the FedEx brand at work, representing the company at functions like this, and online and social media. We actually have 3 different departments in marketing that their whole goal and job is to go out there and see what is being said about FedEx, whether it's positive or negative. If it's negative, and if it is an employee, you're kind of like told about it, then you're written up, and then you're let go. So the whole thing about anything that you do, no matter if it's IT, marketing, sales, logistics, any job, finance, when you're working for the company, the number one thing that you have to do is protect the brand, because then you're protecting your company and everything had to go into it. Back in the 70s, when Fred Smith started the company, the commercial that was on there was this fast talking guy. And he basically was saying, if you need to get the packages there, you need to have it overnight, or you need to have it, all in one piece or whatever. The guy was talking like so fast, I can't even mimic how fast this guy was doing. That just drove into everybody out there who needed packages to be shipped, whether it was personal or whether it was for business, that if you needed it to be shipped and it needed to be on time and it needed to be delivered in one piece, you need to do it by FedEx. And that's all based on perception. That is how most of the companies who are successful, how they have to focus themselves on that. So that's protecting brand. And we also call it protecting purple, because FedEx colors are purple and orange. So it's always protecting purple. Then if you look at quality-driven management, when you're looking at anything that you're doing and it's taken very long to do something, it's costing the company a lot more money. It's costing, whether it's in the production area, whether it's the people who are, creating the product. It could also be like when you turn out the product, it might not be very usable, friendly. It might not be what the customers are really looking for. So then you have to go back. So that's kind of like repeating it. So what Fred Smith did is he put together a team, and they created the QDM. And basically it's how we do business. And it looks at how we can do everything better, how we can do it more efficient, and how we can do it at a cheaper rate to save the company money. So an easy way to think about it, and it's here, is the Purple Promise is our commitment to our customers. We will deliver the best customer experience ever. QDM is how we will work to deliver it, and customer loyalty is the why. Because if you can't deliver a good product, you can't deliver the product on time, you can't deliver a product that the customer is able to afford, then why did you make that product to begin with? And the whole thing that you're doing it is looking at QDM. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, I watched this one video on PBS, and it was on quality, and it was in search of excellence. And there was a segment on it, and it was about FedEx, and it was delivering a package of medical supplies to this hospital, because this one patient needed this one medicine and certain types of drips and stuff like that. But they were having a snowstorm and they couldn't land the plane. So one of the guys that was in the back actually put on the harness and lowered himself down to the hospital. And the winds were whipping, so he's going all over the place. And it was basically based on the QDM principle, is that we need to deliver this on time because lives depend on it. So that was kind of like the big focus. And when I saw that, I said, boy, I want to work for that company one of these days, because that's going to be an awesome company. I started working in the corporate world for a company called RPS, Roadway Package System. And we were acquired by FedEx in 1998. And I made my goal because I was working for the company that I wanted to work for, that I saw in the early 80s. So yeah, so it makes a big difference, but it's also brings pride in what you do. And when you bring pride to what you do, you make sure that the product is more of a quality driven. So like I said, we turned 50. FedEx was founded in 1973 by Fred Smith. And if you know anything about FedEx, he went to Yale and he had to do a paper. And he put this paper together and it was basically the blueprint of what FedEx is going to be with the planes and delivering the packages. His professor, I hope he kind of like didn't stay on too long in that university because he was really bad, told him the paper was well written, but the idea was idiotic. So he ended up getting a C+ for it just because it was well written. Needless to say, he went on and made it happen. But it wasn't easy because when he first started, we didn't have that many places that was opening, and we only delivered like less than 200 packages the whole, the first night, but we were getting it out there and they got it done. But then you have to sit there and think of, wasn't really making a lot of money. So he was in kind of like a lot of debt. And it got to be a point where, okay, I'm not going to be able to make that Friday's payroll. What am I going to do? So yes, he did fly out to Las Vegas. And yes, he put every penny that he had left remaining and he played the crap table. And he won. And he was able to pay everybody that Friday what their salary. And he never looked back after that. So it was like he had to do what he needed to do to get there. So what does that mean for us turning 50? Well, when you look at it, when we started in 1973, we had 389 team members. And then back in 2024, we had 660,000. So then we had 15 jets. Now we have 703. 186 packages went overnight. Now we're at 16.5 million packages a day. 25 US cities, and now we're at 220 countries and territories worldwide. So we've grown pretty big. And the thing of it is that we were focusing on growing, and that was where we're at. Now, when we sit back and we're taking a look at each area, each operating company had their own. So we had, Express, the planes, we had ground, the delivery, then you had the freight, and then you had the logistics, and then you have, all the other little tiny pieces that goes in there, custom critical. They're the companies that will pick up your package at A and we deliver at B. There's no in between. And those are usually like really extremely important medical supplies that can't be anything else. And it could also be that, somebody needs something in, Maine and you can only get it in California. So it goes across country. So it's kind of like that is how we're looking at it. So how do we make the company more streamlined and fast? Well, the vision was one FedEx, and what we did is we merged FedEx Ground and Express, and now we're called Federal Express. And the thing of it is that Wall Street Journal, when we were doing it, they did an article on it and they called it the biggest merger ever in the world because the companies were so huge, and to combine that. So when you're looking at streamlining the organization, before the June 1st, this is all the different opcos that we had. So we had the vast global network. So you have 50 years of strategic development and investment that had gone into the company. Unmatched capabilities, we got the portfolios with the customer. So everything was meeting there. It was the right time to leverage scale and assets across the enterprise. So by leveraging the strength of the networks, people, and the asset, we moved it into one FedEx. So we look at FedEx Drive and Network, and what that does is those are the two initiatives that when we're looking at the field, you have your express hub and terminals, you have your ground hubs and terminals. They each sort the packages differently. How can we move them together? So that's when IT really gets involved with that too, because the idea of how to do the sorts got to be IT driven. And if you know anything about FedEx, 99.9% of everything that's done with the company is IT driven. So when people sit there and say you deliver packages, Yes, we do, but the most important position that you can have at FedEx is basically IT and data, because data is what's going to drive the business forward, but it's going to be IT that's going to be able to implement it and get it to move. So I also want to kind of like dress your day code in case you start working for FedEx. It's kind of like what you have on the do's and the don'ts. So you can take a look at that. But we got the smart casual, the business casual, and the business. When I am home, I'm 100% remote. So I might be dressed up when there's like I'm presenting to a VP or above. I want to have a really nice jacket on and a whole bit, but I can have shorts or sweats on as pants. I just don't get up because that does happen in those commercials that they show you, does happen in real life. But when you're in the office, that's kind of like how you're going to go if you're going to be running into like a VP or doing something. And then if you're business casual, it's going to be if you're, presenting something to maybe your team or to your managing director type thing, you don't need to really go in all dressed to the nines. But then most of the days is the smart casual. You just can't wear shorts, any of that kind, shoes, things like that. You just got to be aware of what you can and cannot wear. But that's basically what you can and cannot do. And that's basically at all companies too. So when I get into the internship, I don't know where you're at in your careers right now, but for the intern program, it is a 10-week paid, and it's like the second week of June through the second week of August. And it's 40 hours a week. And you basically have two options. And it's the same way as if you're full-time too, where if you're close to one of the headquarters, which would be in Pittsburgh, Memphis, Plano, or Orlando, then the expectation is that you're going to be hybrid, which means you're in the office 3 days, possibly out of the week. Don't quote me on this, but we've been hybrid now for 2 years, and some of the people have never been into the office yet. So there's that push-pull type thing, and it's when you get there. Some of the different departments require them to be in the office 5 days a week. Marketing is one of them. They feel that you can't do your job unless you're in the office, which I'm very anti that thought process. And then you also have 100% remote. As an intern, if you're required to be in the office, it will be on that position. It would explain it on that job posting. It would also say remote possibility. Those you can always take. And if you're applying for any of our internships or co-op programs, apply to everyone that you find interesting. A lot of companies have it where you can only apply for one position at a time until that position's closed. It has your email address and it won't let you fill out anything else. FedEx is not that way. Our philosophy is apply to as many as you want. That increases your chances of getting an interview, and it also increases your chances of landing that job. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at what kind of projects that we do, it's all different. It can include like mobile applications, creating them, web development, quality assurance testing, automation, big data platforms, revenue systems, and architecture development. And some of the technology, we're a Java house, but you don't have to actually know Java. We can know Python, and you can know any of the C families, and that you're considered having a strong IT programming foundation, and we can build from that. Whether you're an intern or a full-time IT person, you on your first day, you're giving a certificate to a third-party platform called Pluralsight. On that platform, you'll be able to take any and all other type of programming classes that you need to have so that you're able to go up and running probably within the first 2.5 weeks of your project if it's using a language that you haven't utilized before. That sounds kind of scary and intimidating, especially when you might be taking a 16-week class and you're learning a programming class and you learn it. The only trouble is that we've had a lot of people that they needed to know Java and they didn't. And within a week and a half, they knew Java and they even knew it better than some of the people who've been programming. So it's kind of like what you put into it. And being that you're an intern, you're working 8 hours a day. You don't have to work. You can be taking these classes and learning it that way. So when you're an intern, you don't come in and sit there and say, I know this, this, and this, and this, and think that you know everything. What you learn in the books is to get you through to that solid foundation that your education is giving you. But once you get into the work field, the way that you use Java in projects here at school is not how you're going to be using Java out in the work field. I've seen a lot of the interns, their eyes are like the deer with the headlights in their eyes, because they're like, I didn't know you can do this. I didn't know how to do that. But that's what the whole internship is about, is you learning how to utilize your skills, how to utilize your knowledge, how to grow that. Now, I want to put my teacher hat back on for a second. I have to say, especially in IT and any data analytics, what you really need to do is not sit there and say, oh, I can't wait till I graduate and I'm never going to learn anything ever again because I've learned it all. Slap yourself already, because that is a no-brainer way of approach. Because IT 10 years ago, you might have a new programming language like maybe once every 5 years or so. Now you have a new programming language that's coming out like every other 3 weeks or so. So if you're not staying up to date with everything that's going on, or sitting there saying, hey, this is something that's really new, within 2 years, you're going to be a dinosaur. And you might have 40 more years that you're going to have to work. You're not going to get promoted. You're going to be at that same level. And you're going to be like how your grandparents used to be. I used to hate listening to them sitting there saying, I hate what I do. I hate what I do. But that's what you're going to say, because you need to embrace becoming a lifelong learner. You need to keep looking out there. When last night they were on the TV saying how UPS is going to be getting rid of 40,000 of their employees. Amazon is going to be cutting 14,000 other people that's in the office. And it's because of AI. Have any of you taken a lot of AI courses or done anything with AI yet? You got to change that, because the people who are losing their jobs are people who don't understand and do not know how to use AI. It's not, it used to be, oh, let me tell you, it used to be like totally hands off AI. You walk away from it because all the horror movies you see of it. So I want to say about a year and a half ago, I started taking some AI courses that Fedex was offering. And now I'm kind of like an AI expert there. I don't know how I did it, but I love it. It's something that you need to utilize. And the people whose jobs are going to still be here in 5 years from now, because things are going to change. You take a look of how like Microsoft started off with, you had your Word and you had your Excel spreadsheets, all of that 10, 15 years ago, that was all like new, and people were really like, well, I don't know if we need to do this. And then everybody embraced it. AI is at that point right now. Everybody don't know how to use it. They don't know if they want to use it. But in 5 to 10 years from now, everybody who has a job will know how to use it and how to utilize it to improve their own skills and how to improve the company. So if you don't take that time right now and start learning, you're on the cusp right now of everybody starting to use it. This is the time that you need to really embrace it and learn how to use it, and then put it inside your toolbox. Teacher hat can come off now. So business agility, we are an agile environment, and it's not just IT, it's everybody. So what does it have? It has guiding principles: sustainability, continuous action, teamwork, and keep it simple. You never want to overthink any idea. The simple that you have it, especially in IT, don't think that you're going to be a rock star coder if you're going to be able to come in, code something that nobody else is ever going to be able to fix or duplicate, because when it crashes, you're the person that they're going to need to do that. Unfortunately, you create yourself a little tiny box, because then you're only going to be able to take care of that. Once again, you're stopping yourself from getting promoted. So you need to keep everything simple so that everybody can fix whatever error that goes on, because time is of an essence. If something goes down during peak, and peak usually starts around the end of October, definitely by November, and that's getting the packages to like the stores and that for the holiday shipping. You see, Walmart is getting all their Christmas trees and everything unloaded, and everything is getting put out there now. If say, before Thanksgiving, something goes wrong in IT, something shuts down, and we can't get those packages out, well, there goes Black Friday shopping. That's going to be huge. Will they continue using us the following year for that? Probably not. They'll probably turn to UPS or another shipper. So that's kind of like protecting that. So you always need to keep that going and keep everything simple. So when you're looking at actions, near-term focus, detailed plans, continuous mindset, we have ABLE, which is part of our QDM, and ABLE stands for assess, build, launch, and evaluate. And that way those are the 4 important steps of QDM. Okay. So we're an agile team, and there's the 12 principles of agile software. And it's basically keeping everything moving as fast as possible, making sure that everybody will understand what you're coding and how you're putting it out there. And in an agile environment, what that means is everything is done short. It used to be the waterfall philosophy was that, say, somebody in business brought IT, and it would be like a huge book and would say, this is a project, this is what we need you to do. Well, 18 months, 24 months from then, everybody's been working hard on that, and they sit there and say, okay, let us demo. And they're like, we've moved on from that. So all that time that they spent working on it has now, that's the end of it. It costs the company money. This is what we really need you to focus on now. So with Agile, what that does, it breaks everything down into really bite-sized pieces. And you hear about stories. You pull off a story. We have it set up for 10 weeks. So you can work on something for 8 weeks. And from the time you get it to when you need to have it done and ready to launch is 8 weeks. It's testing, everything's all in it. And then you have 2 weeks of your downtime. Your downtime could be something that you want to learn. If you know that, something's coming down the pike and you don't know a certain programming language, but it's going to be used in that project. Those are the 2 weeks that you can use and start learning that. But we keep doing that. And then we also have like PI planning, and it's done 4 times a year. So all of that goes into it. And that's how you understand the whole agile environment. So any questions? Whether it's about Fedex, about the intern program. Yes, sir.
What percentage of people would you say start in the internship program and end up becoming full-time?
Okay. Up until this past June, from 2018 till then, I did all the IT interns, and the first year before I started taking it, they were hiring 70% of their IT interns into full-time people. I sat back and I said, how can I make my interns more well-rounded? And there's actually 13 different soft skills that I find crucial for you guys to be successful in IT. And I created a Fedex soft skill series, and in 6 weeks, they were kicking butt, and I cleaned up my language there. I'm proud of that one. We started hiring 100% of my interns, and then the other areas started asking, how are you guys doing it? We're only hiring 70% of it. Which then it kind of like, I went from having like 20 to 30 different summer interns in my senior VP org to having 125 IT interns from all the IT orgs. And I kind of like put myself up there, and I got my new position that you talked about. I'm now looking out for all summer interns, and I'll be cranking that out for them starting this coming summer, 4,000 interns. So everybody's looking at me, how are we going to hire? Like, we want 100%. So that's always been my goal.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let me just say, you're building your technical skills, anytime that you can build any of your soft skills, which is definitely going to be communications is your number one. Because when you get in there and you're talking to the business side, you can't talk like techie to them because they're gonna get that glaze over and they're the ones who's gonna have to approve what you're doing and how you're going to do it. If they don't understand what you're talking about, they're not gonna approve it and you're gonna be sitting on your hands and everybody's gonna say, what's going on? So communication skills is your number one. You gotta be able to tell them what you need to do and don't use the technical jargon. You gotta stop. If you can't do that, then you can't meet what you need to do. So that's there. And the next one is confidence. When you start as an intern or even as a full-time employee, the first thing that you gotta do is build that confidence. They know that you're gonna be asking 1,000,001 questions. If you don't, then they're gonna start worrying that you're not doing what you need to do. So then they're gonna be standing over you and then it's gonna make you sweat even more, thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's watching what I'm doing because they're not trusting me. And that's because you're not asking questions. So you have that, you have team building. You gotta be able to be a team member. You gotta know what your team needs to do, how to do it, how you can support them because they're gonna be supporting you. So that's key and critical. And then there's all kinds of other different skills. So you need to apply at Fedex and come there so I can teach you all the different 13 different skills. But it's key and critical, especially for IT, to be able to take that on. But communications is number one. Good question. Yes, sir.
Is there any sort of like specific, like certifications that you guys would look for, like during the application process, or like ones that I guess would just make a resume like stand out too?
Just make sure that your resume stands out. And what I'm meaning for that too is because, hey, we're starting to use AI and they're going to go through it. So you need to make sure that you have all your programming languages listed on there. Any technical skills, make sure it's listed on there because what's going to happen is you're going to apply for a ton of different positions. And then what they're going to do is start pulling it and say, that perfect for that one, perfect for that one. Yeah, not so good on that one. So that way there, the more that you apply, once again, the more chances are that you're going to get an interview, more chances of it that you're going to land a position. And the thing of it is that if you get 3 or 4 different interviews, great. You might get 3 or 4 different offers, or you might just get one. If you get multiple ones, then you can sit there and say, okay, this manager is going to let me do this. Will you let me do that? So you can play that, especially if it's a full-time role. That's when you can start really doing your negotiations on that. So always keep that in mind. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea of when the IT or data analytic like internships will?
Yes, the last time I checked with them, it was 2 weeks ago. They said 2 weeks and it's still not posted. The CIO is going through everything right now, so I would say go out there. Pick a day of the week, go out there on the same day every week and see if it's posted. So you can go out there like on a Thursday and see what's posted out there. Now, if there are some IT positions that are posted, but it's under the business end of it. You can even look for like even computer engineering, because it's all about the same. And there's also some business analytics. So if you're into that, those are posted. And I would sit there and say, go out there today, no later than tomorrow, because we have 2 career fairs today and then one on Monday. Once the one on Monday is done, I think on Wednesday, they're pulling down all the intern program, the intern positions down. And then the only ones that's going to be going out there is going to be IT and data analytics and engineering role. So just make sure that you keep going out there, and those will probably only be open for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, because there's a lot of. Last year we had 6,600 people apply for 22 positions. This year we have 71 IT positions, and I think we have something like 45 or 50 data analytics. And also just to let you know too, if you're any thoughts of going to data analytics really make a ton more money than IT. So keep that in mind too. Yes, sir.
I was thinking, so as an intern, are you kind of just reporting to one kind of advisor, or do you get to interact with a lot of the different employees? How does it kind of work with that aspect?
You will be on a team and you report to one manager. Day one, you will be, having a mentor assigned to you, but everybody on your team is basically your mentor. We set you up for total success. But you are going to be talking to your Scrum Master, to the PO, which is the product owner, which is the business side. You're also going to be, talking to, depending on what it is, you could need information from marketing, you could be, logistics, all of that's all going to be all tied together. So it's just not you talking to one or two people, it's gonna be a plethora of different. And let me also just say that it's not going to be easy projects that you're given. Some are easy, some aren't so easy. If you ever get a package delivered by FedEx and then they sent you an email and they show you the picture of it sitting outside your door or whatever, that's called picture proof of delivery. That was one of my IT interns. That was his project. So it went from that and now we are doing like, I want to say close to 500 million pictures a day, because they take different angles and different things to make sure everything works okay. And that's around the world. So yeah, so all of that, because the 16.6 million packages are basically in the US right now. But yeah, those are the type of projects that my IT interns work on. It's not the easy stuff, but you get full visibility up to your SVP, senior vice president, and sometimes even up to the president. So I make sure that you get those meetings. And then also too, networking. Key thing is you need to be networking too. And I help you guys get into that. So you let me know what your interests are. And I find you a list of people and I start hooking you up with them so that they become your mentors throughout your whole program too. Good question. Yes.
I know you've mentioned a lot of the corporate offices are kind of not in the Columbia, South Carolina area. What kind of relocation assistance do you guys offer, if any?
For the intern program, you offer right now, it's a $2,000 stipend. And I would sit there and say, don't spend it all, because the federal government taxes it as a bonus, so they take 50% of it. So make sure that if you do something like that, no matter what company you are, know that they will take 50% of it, so only spend that. When you get your full-time position, I'm all for my interns being remote, because I don't want you to take on any extra money out of your own pocket for this. It's not needed that's my understanding of that whole process. But when you become a full-time employee, that is when you need to put your face and your name together. And that's when you're going to be running into a lot of the VPs and all the executives. Then they'll sit there and say, hey, I met so-and-so. Oh yeah, they're really good in IT. This is what they've been doing. And then all of a sudden, they're going to come at you best and sit there and say, hey, I heard you've been doing a really good job. We're going to have this project that's coming out. Would you like to be on that team? Oh, yes, it's as soon as you say that. So then you're going to start getting a lot of the really cool projects. And then all of a sudden you start getting promoted a lot faster. When you do that, that is when you have the relocation package deal. And then that way there, FedEx pays for your movement there. So what you don't want to do is sit there and say, oh no, I want to stay in South Carolina. And then a year or two from now, you sit there and say, oh, you know what, I do want to move to Pittsburgh, or I do want to move to Memphis. That's on your dime. Because not until you apply for another position out of that area that you're in, and you're treated as like a new person moving into that, then you'll get a relocation option then. But don't take that, take it then when you're starting, when it's there. Because then, you can go to the city and take a look at, where you want to go. One of the things that I like to do is to show my interns the drone tours of each of the cities. And then that way there you can see what goes on in the city, different things that's going on. And then a lot of them will show their parents in and sit there and say, I want to move to that city when I graduate. So then you have that conversation with your parents and you get them prepared for that move type thing. And then that way there, yeah, the relocation package is pretty extensive and pretty good.
Thank you.
Good question. Also too, when you get your full-time salary, no matter if it's going from intern, and I always tell my interns, do not sign your letter until you see me. And then I take a look at your starting salary. The thing of it is that at FedEx, you can ask them for a 5% increase and it won't go higher than your manager. If you ask them for 6 to 10%, it has to be approved by the like a VP. So always keep it at 5%. That's basically how it is at any other company. So when you go for your full-time role, ask for it. Doesn't hurt, you get more money. Any other questions?